People remember the story that I broke, what was it, last week, talking about how that one group, QSEF, was paying these journalists for favorable coverage about China. They were taking them on trips overseas, and you could see after they came back, they were shilling Chinese propaganda, plain and simple. Well, this same group, but in conjunction with a group called CAIFC, that's the China Association for International Friendly Contact, which is even more explicitly part of China's military apparatus. It's part of basically the PLA's political warfare department. They do joint, espionage and intel collecting, but also from a military standpoint, getting people to push info ops on the American people. And they were running basically the same exact program, not just with idiot schmuck journalists, but with former chairmen of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, vice chairmen, former COCOM commanders, commanders of, Pacific Command, Chief of Naval Operations program called the Sanya Dialogue, the Sanya Initiative. It started in 2008. They were meeting with the highest levels in American government, too. You have pictures of them with Hillary Clinton. A lot of the people who were involved. So again, these are not like military commentators. These are people who literally ran the theaters of war that the Chinese Communist Party wants to understand what our, COA, our course of action is, were anything to break out. These are the people who are literally interacting with a spy front that has been caught up in the same schemes where they are literally buying this information off of people, and these people literally later go to jail. But this is something that, like I was saying, has gone on for nearly 2 decades. They've even gotten up to the U.S. Naval Academy. We've had some of the leaders of the CMC up and around there talking with people. But Steve, it's important. There's 2 parts to the story. One is the public facing stuff, right, where they do the mill-to-mill exchanges and it's all happy, which I would argue there's no such thing as happy collaboration with the Chinese. But then there's the darker secret side to this, which is that these names weren't published, and these are people including former vice chairmen of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Admiral Bill Owens, will make him famous, who literally became a consultant for Huawei after participating in this, helped try to bid for contracts and help them gain a foothold in America to get their product here. Literally was writing op-eds called "America Must Start Treating China as a Friend." That's your former vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and there are about 24 people who are all a part of this at the highest levels of the U.S. military. These names were not ever publicized, right? These are from brochures, Chinese language brochures, buried in pages that we were never supposed to find. That I will say, Steve, after we've made QSEF really famous, now their website doesn't really work anymore. It's interesting how that works. But in this case, here are the people that we want to make famous. That's General Peter Pace, the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Admiral William Owens, the former vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General John Abizaid, former commander of U.S. CENTCOM, General Raymond Odierno, former Army Chief of Staff, Admiral Jonathan Greener, former Chief of Naval Operations, Admiral Timothy Keating, former commander of U.S. Pacific Command, General Ronald Fogelman, former Air Force Chief of Staff, General Dennis Reamer, former Army Chief of Staff, Admiral Joseph Kerr, former commander of U.S. Pacific Command, General John Keane, yes, that's Jack Keane of Fox News, so take that, former Vice Chief of Staff of the Army, General Walter Sharp, former commander of U.S. Forces Korea, General Charles Jacoby, former commander of U.S. Northern Command.
This is you are literally going through a who's who of some of the most respected military, both Navy, Army, Marine Corps, and I think some Air Force. Once again, just give the audience, what have these folks done? And of course, they haven't advertised, it's all in Chinese language. What have they done to compromise the security of the United States of America?
They have worked hand in glove, forming a secret back channel that makes Mark Milley look like child's play with a group, the CAIFC and QSEF. That's the pay-for-play trip group. CAIFC is literally a political warfare branch of the People's Liberation Army that plays, according to the U.S. government, dual roles of intelligence collection and conducting propaganda and perception management campaigns. After meeting with the PRC, obviously they had these back channels. God knows what they shared with the Chinese Communist Party. Some people explicitly ended up on their payroll lobbying for Chinese Communist Party-owned companies, shilling them in the press. But these are people who for years have met secretly with Chinese Communist Party, the highest levels of their military officials. Steve, I don't want to hear it from these people that it was about, mutual understanding, because you know what? Where the United States stands right now when it comes to our military footing against the Chinese Communist Party is pretty abysmal. You see, these are all the same voices that push for us to get into these kinetic combats, combats God knows where abroad, deplete our weapons, deplete our stockpiles, give the Chinese Communist Party a leg up. These are the people who say, oh, nothing's going to happen in Taiwan. We'll just automatically have military supremacy. And these are the same type of people, Steve. You see it every few months. There's always an indictment about someone who's working for some federal agency or the military, and they're selling over documents. Sometimes it's people who are literally just accessed via LinkedIn, a simple DM. They get a couple $1,000. It's abysmal the prices these people will sell out for. And they hate President Trump. None of these people, Steve, you want to understand why there's been such a quiet when it comes to the media about Chinese influence in our elections? You think any of these people are going to comment on that? No way. They're in on the take, and they make so much money from these weird, shady firms. Their spouses end up on the payroll. They all start these shady consulting firms helping Chinese businesses gain a foothold in the United States. It's absolutely disgusting, and there's absolutely no justification for it. The Chinese Communist Party, the way they do their intel collection, the way they work with espionage and propaganda, you cannot sit in a room with them without being compromised. Full stop. End of sentence, end of story. And these people who spent their entire careers learning how political warfare works by the Chinese Communist Party, it is literally like they are sitting there, Steve, like prostitutes, begging for cash from the Chinese Communist Party, saying, hey, what do you want to know about what our plan is in some theater of warfare? Oh, let me guess, probably around Taiwan. It's disgusting. They helped connect them to government officials, and they're literally talking about mill-to-mill exchanges with the Chinese Communist Party. Here's the difference. In one room, on one side, you have Chinese spies. On the other side, you have greedy, lustful for capital and trying to feel important former American generals who just want to sell out, sabotage the United States of America for some consulting fees for Huawei. That's not a fair match. Obviously, it's mismatched motives. And it's absolutely disgusting. These people need to be shamed into oblivion because this is stupidness. It's gross.